The women in The Legend of Korra are incredible. Like, obviously Korra is great, but this series does a phenomenal job of showcasing other amazing female characters too. It's by no means a one-woman show, and that's a part of what makes it so special. There's no token female character, which means the women in the show have the chance to be varied, diverse, and unique. Each one of them doesn't have to represent all women. They can just exist for themselves. Because sometimes even shows or movies that have one outstanding female character fall flat when it comes to the rest of the cast. But diversity doesn't mean chucking in one physically strong, emotionally stunted woman into a story full of men and calling it a day. Finding something that really represents the diverse experiences and personalities of women is unfortunately relatively rare. But I think that The Legend of Korra does a fantastic job. So today I want to talk about some of the incredible women from this series and go through why I love them all so much. I'll mostly be focusing on book 4 for a few reasons. It's my favorite book in the series, it's the only book where the main villain is a woman, and a lot of other female characters have plot lines that build up into the 4th book and come to a resolution there. Book 3 definitely had some great female villains like Pli, Minghua, and the Earth Queen, but book 4 is just on another level. So let's start off with some of the main characters and then work our way down to the characters that get a bit less screen time. First up is Korra. She's the main character of the series and has trouble controlling her temper. I liked her contrast with the last Avatar, Aang, where Aang would try to find a diplomatic, peaceful solution. Korra just likes to punch her way through her problems. She's fierce and strong and goes through a lot over the course of the series. She's a flawed but brilliant character who is doing her best to live up to the title of Avatar, even when she doesn't really know what she's doing. And as I've covered in a previous video, she ends up dating Asami by the end of the show, which was just a beautiful, beautiful moment. Asami is in some ways a foil to Korra's brute force approach, but not in the same way as Aang. She's more technology-minded and can often engineer a solution that might still involve fighting her way out, but is a bit more clever and thought out. She's the brain to Korra's brawn, essentially, though she can definitely hold her own in a fight. She has her own hardships throughout the series. In particular, she struggles to reconnect with her dad after he betrayed her, and ultimately she sees him sacrifice himself. She's the rich kid who learns to run an entire business by herself, and as a result has a vast wealth of knowledge around various industries. Kuvira is the main antagonist of the 4th book, but she wasn't always a villain. Throughout book 3, she was on Korra's side, and it's not until book 4 when her desire to reunite the Earth Kingdom by any means necessary puts her at odds with Korra and her friends. She's a fascinating villain not only because she was on the protagonist's side, but because it's her ambition and drive, the very things that she was applauded for, that lead to her becoming a villain in book 4. It's not like she had a change of heart and decided that she suddenly hates the protagonists. She just believes that she's doing what they wanted all along, and it's wrong that they're now standing in her way. Reuniting the Earth Kingdom was what Korra and company wanted, but eventually they start to realize that Kuvira's method for doing so is unethical. She crushes all dissent, forces cities to join her under threat of violence, employs slave labor, and sends dissenters to re-education camps. Plus, on top of it all, she considers Republic City to be land stolen from the Earth Kingdom and wants to reclaim it by force. But behind it all, she's a villain who evokes sympathy from the viewer because of how similar she is to Korra. Korra is also known to take a fight first and ask questions later kind of approach. Korra is also very driven and ambitious, often to a point where she has to be reeled back in by people like Tenzin. Her similarities to Kuvira are unavoidable, and so it leads to a classic, we're not so different, you and I kind of situation. Next is Jinora, who is one of my favorite characters in the series. She's the oldest of Tenzin's kids, but still quite young compared to most of the other characters. In the first 2 books, she's kind of just one of the kids, but in book 3 really starts to develop her own skills and identity away from her siblings. She realizes that she has an affinity for communicating with spirits and entering the spirit world, and she becomes a kind of spiritual guide for Korra. And all of her growth and knowledge comes in spite of the fact that her dad and those around her still think that she's just a helpless kid. She has to prove herself time and time again before she's recognized as an airbending master and is allowed to get the tattoos to prove it. Because she's a young girl, she was discounted and overlooked, but she's incredibly talented and, as far as we see in the show, the only person who can perform spiritual projection, essentially being able to leave her body and travel to faraway places in spirit form. She's the excited youth, the next generation, ready to take over and be involved but constantly doubted and left behind. Iki is Jinora's younger sister, and as such, her airbending skills haven't had quite as much time to develop as Jinora's. She's hyper and talkative competitive, unlike the quiet and comparatively chill Jinora, but just as determined and hardworking as her older sister. She's annoyed by her siblings, but by talking things out with her dad, who is in a similar situation, she learns to accept them. She's smart and able to talk her way out of most situations. By the end of the series, she's a talented airbender who's a valuable part of the team, and she even saves Jinora's life when she's knocked out of the sky. Next, I want to talk about a few characters together, Toph, Lin, and Suyin Beifong. Toph is the mother of Lin and Suyin, and she only has a brief role in The Legend of Korra. After being poisoned at the end of Book 3, Korra goes to train with her, and we find that she's the same cranky, tough person we all remember from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Lots of stories have an old, wise man who guides the main character, like a Dumbledore or a Gandalf, and to some extent, Korra does have that in Tenzin, but it was nice to see that Korra's old, wise mentor figure later on was a woman. Toph is able to help Korra work through her PTSD and remove the final bits of poison out of her system, and it's an emotional and turbulent time for Korra. Lin and Suyin, as Toph's daughters, don't have the best relationship with each other. Lin is grouchy and cranky and mean, while Suyin can be more nurturing and gentle. And it should come as no surprise to anyone that Toph wasn't the most loving and affectionate mother, so it seems like they never felt that close of a connection to each other. Then there was an incident where Lin was working with the police while Suyin was involved in a gang, and when Lin tried to arrest Suyin, Suyin broke the metal whip that Lin had grabbed her with, and it recoiled and scarred Lin's face. That incident haunted them for the rest of their lives, until in Book 4, when the two women are finally forced to confront their feelings about each other. An entire episode revolves around their complex relationship, why they hate each other, what they could have done differently, what they want to happen now. It's a messy, messy relationship, but that's what makes it interesting. The women of The Legend of Korra aren't great because they're all perfect. They're great because they're allowed to be flawed and complex. And I love that The Legend of Korra gives them the space to work through their troubles together instead of simplifying things or making every woman too good to ever make a mistake. Next, I want to talk about Opal, Suyin's daughter. When Opal is introduced, it's quickly hinted at that she's Bolin's love interest, but the series allows her to be much more than that. She's a new airbender, and Korra starts to teach her the basics before she leaves for the Northern Air Temple to continue her training. In Book 4, Opal is working with the other airbenders to protect various cities and states within the Earth Kingdom. She's dating Bolin, but he's working for Kuvira, who Opal doesn't like, and so they have a big fight. Then Opal and Jinora are forced to attack Kuvira to stop her from killing Korra, before holding off an entire army until Milo and Ikki arrive on a flying bison to help them escape. In the aftermath, Bolin leaves Kuvira's side, but Opal is slow to forgive him. She's an independent, intelligent person who sticks strong to her ideals and always does what she believes is best. There's also Katara, who helps Korra begin her lengthy healing process at the beginning of Book 4. She was one of the main characters in The Last Airbender, but in this series, her role is a lot smaller. She's an extremely compassionate person, willing to do anything she can to help Korra, and an immensely talented healer and waterbender. Now let's talk about Kaya. She's one of Aang's kids and a sister to Tenzin and Bumi. She does a lot throughout the series and even plays a role in the graphic novels that came after the show, where we learn that she is romantically attracted to women. On top of that, she's a skilled waterbender and fighter and loves to spend time with her nieces and nephews. She has a tough relationship with her brothers, but in the end is fiercely loyal. Next is Zhu Li. She starts off just as Varric's assistant, but by the end of the series, she's his equal. She's incredibly skilled at using a mecha suit and is super smart. When she's imprisoned and then escapes, she feigns loyalty to Kuvira and gets her to trust her. While developing the spirit energy cannon, she begins to sabotage it, slowing Kuvira's progress. Eventually, she's discovered and she has no problem telling Kuvira off. She then played a role in fighting back against Kuvira's attack on Republic City, and at the end of the series, she gets married to Varric. In the official graphic novels that follow the series, she even becomes the president of Republic City. And finally, there's Pema, Tenzin's wife. She's not really much of a fighter. She's a non-bender, and most of the time we see her either pregnant or with her newly born baby. Her thing is being a good stay-at-home mom, and I love that. One misinterpretation of women's empowerment that I see sometimes is people saying that no woman should be a stay-at-home mom, that every woman needs to have a career and be fully independent and all of that. And I think it's definitely important to question your motivations for why you might feel compelled to be a stay-at-home mom, even if that's not really what you want to do. And a lot of women do find empowerment by overcoming that stereotype and breaking out of it. But empowerment for women doesn't mean we stop forcing women to do one thing and start forcing them to to do another. It means giving women the ability to choose what they want to do, and that includes choosing to be a stay-at-home mom if that's what they really want. So I like the inclusion of Pema in this series because it shows the diversity of experiences for women. While lots of women can be badass fighters like Korra, Asami, or Lin, they can also be chill non-fighters like Pema. If this show was almost entirely about men and Pema was the only woman or one of only a few women in the show, that would probably be pretty sexist, because then the show would be perpetuating the stereotype that women only exist as stay-at-home moms while men do everything else. But because there are so many other women doing so many other things in The Legend of Korra, Pema's inclusion makes perfect sense. She no longer has to represent all women. She can just be herself and represent one aspect of what women can be. And that's why, in general, it's amazing to have so many women on a show. It's not just about the number of women on a show, it's about allowing women to have the diversity of experience that men are generally afforded on TV and in movies. In Korra, instead of just having one woman who's a love interest or a mom, we have women from all walks of life. There are goofy kids, spiritual leaders, law enforcement officers, politicians, mothers, tough women, smart women, and so much more. And none of them have to just be that one thing. They can be all kinds of things, and they can make mistakes, and they can be villains, and they can be heroes, and they can just be so many different kinds of people that anyone and everyone can relate to them. That's what's so incredible about all of the women on this show, and a part of the reason why I love it so much. So many shots in The Legend of Korra feature only women, or at least mostly women, and that's a refreshing change of pace. This show smashes the Bechdel test to pieces and is just at an entirely different level, one which other shows and movies should aim to get to as well. Anyway, that's all I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video about the powerful women of The Legend of Korra. If you'd like to support future videos like this, you can check out my Patreon, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.